Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of Lee's nephews started chess really young and went to like camps during the summer. Yeah,
Okay, so,
he's a smart one.
you need light?
Yeah, it's a little.
Actually, I think I want to
Yes.
tweak those just a little bit. Yeah.
To me, it's like gin rummy.
How was that?
It's like.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Because you have to. Rums.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Lauren,
Okay, so,
Your own hand. Yes. Which.
so you mute all.
With the option.
Over there.
Okay. But here in an actual lead, less. Comes out with a card yearly, a different hand.
oh, it's recording already.
So you can stop that.
Interesting. Yeah. And so that's.
You can.
I have one insurance.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We're still letting people in on the meeting. We have about 20 people, it looks like, so far.
Just make sure everyone knows they can hear you.
Okay. Can people out there hear me? Can you nod and wave, smile? There you go. Thank you, Bill. Mark, hi. Hi, Don. Very good. In the room, as you can see, we have Jean, Angie, Nicole, and we're trying to get a hold of
Smile today.
Chip.
Chip, yeah.
Okay, we do have a quorum, so that's good. We have good participation. So I thank everybody for coming on today.
Did they leave today?
Okay.
Got an answer.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 10:03. We did post a meeting announcement on the bulletin board, sent it out on email, so it's properly noticed. I'd like to start off, number one, by thanking everybody for participating and for your patience as we recover from the storm. The first thing I'd like to do is a little administrative stuff and make a motion to approve the Board of Directors meeting minutes from November 4th.
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Jean. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I thank you. That's passed. Meeting minutes are posted on the website, and I'm hoping people take advantage of everything we have posted on there. I think what everybody's really interested in is the Hurricane Ian recovery and providing updates. I'd like to do that right now. First off, as everybody knows, first floor units, all 16 have been completely gutted. And we are in the process of recovering from those issues that have come up. When we talked last time, we had the asbestos issues. So the asbestos remediation did start on time. We figured that it should be completed by December 16th. So not this week, but next week. We've completed units 101, 102, 109. We have air quality tests completed on those. Today, we're doing air quality tests on units 104, 105, 114, 115, and 116. And the rest of the units are being worked right now. The guys are working 7 days a week. We have a real good team. We have a good relationship with them. So they're moving along very nicely. So once we get that done, we will drywall the rest of the units and they'll be ready for construction by the individual unit owners, contractors, remodelers. Now, you've seen my emails. We have 8 remodel requests, complete packages from 8 of the 16 unit owners. So for you unit owners out there on the first floor, I really encourage you to sign contracts with your remodelers because they're going to be harder and harder to get. These guys are getting extremely busy. They don't have the bandwidth. And once the units across the street, all the high rises open up, which most of them are not open right now, the contractors are going to work over there because that's where all the big money is. So For those of you not keeping track, a lot of the high rises, including Lionsgate and all those across the street from us, still don't have elevators. They're not being occupied. There's probably mold issues. So as bad as it is here and as inconvenient as it is here right now, these other units are in really bad shape. So I just want to make that point. The other thing with the remodeling, we need permits for all of the units on the first floor. So a lot of people are coming back and saying, hey, we're just replying like for like. But according to the city of Naples, and I sent that out on an email too, replacement of cabinets in the kitchens and bathrooms where there's plumbing, electrical, require permits. So as kind of our responsibility to the entire community, we need to make sure all remodel work is done properly and we don't take shortcuts and so on. Now, as we've taken the drywall down, it's been a good opportunity for us to see what's behind the walls. And, you know, over the last 45 years or so, there's been a lot of construction, a lot of remodeling, and we found some really ugly things, you know, some really slipshod work. So we're going to make sure that everything is repaired, electrical is done properly. We had an electrician in here yesterday, which we'll talk about later, but we opened up a storage closet on the first floor that had basically extension cords connecting receptacles. And, you know, the extension cords are sitting on the ground in the water. Obviously, they were flooded over the storm. And in a normal rainstorm, they probably get wet. That stuff is coming out. We're not going to allow that. We're going to make sure everything is up to code. And the electrician told us, I can't fix this. It's not legal. So we're going to fix everything we can, including electrical and plumbing. Again, the permitting is taking at least 4 to 5 weeks. So if you sign a contract today and your contractor gets the paperwork in today, you're still not going to do any work for 4 to 5 weeks. So you can see for everybody's information, these first floor units aren't going to be done by Christmas. You know, it's going to be going well into January and February, plus lead times on cabinets, on appliances, things like that. So, you know, that's going on. I'm going to admit a couple more people. So the other thing we took advantage of is a lot of first floor unit owners complain that their floors are very slanted. You know, you could put a ping pong ball, golf ball, bowling ball, and the balls just roll across the room because the floors aren't flat. So as everybody knows, a couple of years ago, probably 15 years ago, we did a huge restabilization project where they, you know, went underneath the buildings, they put new fill in, and there was some concern was, did that fill hold up? So we contracted with our engineering firm, TRC. They contracted with Walker Construction, and we basically did core drilling last week. It was over 2 days. We went in every single unit. We had the engineers pick out the appropriate spots. We dug holes into the slab to see what was underneath it. Now, of course, like everything, the first hole we dug hit 2 water lines. You know, so okay, now we have that problem. The second day we hit an electrical conduit. So both those things have to get repaired. The good news is core drilling is done. TRC came in yesterday. Angie and I walked each unit with them, and we have absolutely 0 problems with the slabs. So that is really good news. Everything that was done 15 years ago held up, and we have no issues. We got a letter from TRC stating that. So we're covered on that. So we will now have to go back, fix the drain lines, fix the electrical lines that got damaged, and then they'll refill those holes that we dug. So we dodged a really big bullet on that one. If we had to do another stabilization project, that would have cost us a fortune, and luckily we didn't have to do that. So the bottom line is, I know people are anxious to get their units remodeled, including mine. I'm anxious, you know, and, you know, the units will be ready for everybody to get their contractor in by the time they get their remodel packages in, they get their permits. So the association is not holding anybody up. And, you know, we're juggling a lot of contractors here between the asbestos guy coming in, then we need to do the core drilling. And, when the asbestos guys are in there, you can't go in there. So there's a lot of balls in the air to get this thing up and running. So anyway, that's the story on the first floor units. Does anybody have any questions on that? Any comments so far?
Daryl, it's Chuck.
Hi, Chuck.
Did the coring qualify for any of the insurance?
No. Let me get my volume up here. No, there was no damage caused by the hurricane that would allow us to send that into our insurance. But it was something, we felt we needed to do, considering the fact that a couple of the unit owners really thought they had an issue. And when I talked to the engineer, I'm like, hey, look, it is obvious these floors are slanted. And basically he said, they're slanted from the day they build the building. That is not part of the leveling process, which is news to me, that's the way they construct buildings. And they said basically what they have to do is get that self-leveling cement in the units to straighten out their flooring before they could put down tile or whatever they're going to put down. I'll be doing the same thing in my unit. My contractor proposed 20 bags of this mud. And as he walked through it again the other day, he goes, hey, you know what, you might need more. So that's the nature of, condos in Florida and the way they're built. And, the other interesting thing he told me was the new specifications or requirements for a new building now is they have to compact that dirt underneath or the fill underneath the building to 85%, whatever that means. In fact, when they built our building, they just dredged out, dirt and sand from the bay and filled it and didn't do that. So that's why all these older buildings kind of have these problems. Now, I can tell you a lot of buildings on the Gulf side, the high rises and all, their buildings were actually undermined. Water came in under their building and they have structural issues and they're going to have real problems that they're going to have to fix before they can occupy those buildings. So Dave, the engineer that was out here yesterday with Angie and myself, basically said that our building structurally is in amazing shape. And he was basically telling us about all the other buildings that, are not in the condition we're in. So again, good news on the structure of our building. Chuck, does that answer your question? Okay. The next thing, electrical. So everybody's anxious to get around the pool. We realize that. The problem we had was we did not have electrical throughout the grounds, to the pool, to the docks. The electrician couldn't get parts. So basically, with the help of Lee Vardakis, who has a lot of experience in that field, we were able to source parts from up north. Now, we placed an order a couple of weeks ago, and, Lee followed up a week later or so and said, hey, we didn't get the parts. And they're like, oh, yeah, it was canceled. We couldn't get they're back ordered. So we're running into a lot of this, I got a guy stuff, oh, I got a guy that could do it cheaper. I got a guy that could do it faster. And every time we go to one of these guys, they don't come through, so I'm really cautious with everybody that has a better idea and I got a guy. So luckily, Lee was able to find another electrical supplier who was able to get us a couple panels and some other electrical equipment. And we had that shipped in. Angie was able to get Southwest Electrical in here yesterday. So we now have all the carport lights on that we didn't have on, the building lighting. We now have power to the pool and we now have power to the docks. So that is really good news. It's a big breakthrough. The only thing we don't have, and they're on back order, is transformers for the low voltage lighting. So we're still waiting for that to magically appear and we're hoping it does. So, that's kind of the story on electrical. We couldn't get the pool going and Sweetwater would not come in and install the heaters, pumps, filters that we need until we have electrical. Now that we have electrical, we're going to turn on Sweetwater, and we ordered the parts for that a couple of weeks ago. So we're waiting for a date when we could get the pool turned on. We also have to get the Chicky remodeled, and we're still working on that. So the Chicky is completely gutted. Once we get that remodeled, you know, it's new wallboard, it's new bathrooms, it's new showers, the whole works, clean it up. And, you know, it needed a cleanup anyway. So, yeah, we'll be getting that done. So we're trying to get the combination of the new pool equipment in and the Chicky remodeled, then we can open up the pool. We do not have chairs around the pool for people that aren't here. One of the other things we're going to do is a lot of our chairs really got kind of, the slings got very dirty and dark, and we're going to have to replace some of those slings. We ordered all that equipment. We actually have it. So we want to get brand new slings and cleaned up chairs and furniture, get all three things together, and then we can open up the pool area. A couple people have approached us about, hey, why don't you put the chairs out so we could just sit out there and hang out? And I think the feeling on the board is not to do that. We absolutely cannot have anybody in the pool. The pool is filled with bleach right now to keep it clean. Anybody goes in that pool, we're in big trouble. We still have construction debris out around the Chicky, and there's going to be construction going on. Wherever you walk around here, the sidewalks, there's broken glass, there's nails, there's all kinds of stuff. So the board is not going to put chairs out by the pool right now. It's not safe, and we're not going to police it. You know, we don't want to be the bad guys that have to walk around and say, hey, you're not allowed to sit here. We're doing enough of that already, and it puts us in a very uncomfortable position, and we don't want to do that. So until we get everything functioning and safe, that area is not going to be open. People are grilling, and that's okay because, you know, it's one or two people at a time. They've been very respectful of the grills, and we haven't had any issues. So as long as we don't have issues, we'll let people continue to grill, and we'll continue to clean them. So that's kind of the story with electrical. The pool equipment, like I said, it's on order. Furniture's getting cleaned. We're going to get the Chicky restored. And, you know, good news on the electrical. We also got the bubblers up and running, and we have holiday lights. So there is some joy here. You know, at least we have that stuff going, and it really makes a difference, and people feel good when they see that stuff. So it's an indication of progress.
Daryl,
Yes.
I mentioned about the how late people have to put stuff on the curb.
Okay, good point, Gene. Thank you. So that's the other thing. The city of Naples is allowing people to put stuff by the curb for a collection. So people are putting appliances, furniture, whatever it is that you have to get out of your first floor units. But they're going to stop picking stuff up on December 15th. And so that basically gives us a week. So I recommend anybody that has stuff that you want put out and taken away free of charge. Now, that does not include construction contractor debris. You can't be throwing wallboard out and, you know, other debris like that. But once you get all that stuff out by the curb, it gets collected. After that, they're going to charge us for it. And it looks pretty unsightly, which we're all sick of looking at. However, if you drive up and down Gulf Shore Boulevard, that's all you see. See, it's debris and then remnants of debris and damaged landscaping. So it really is, you know, kind of heartbreaking in a way that how bad Gulf Shore Boulevard continues to look. Although it's looking much better than it did weeks ago. So that's a good thing. So get your stuff out by the curb. Sunday, they were outside with the truck and the claw. So they're working 7 days a week also. So we'll continue to see that. Grounds and landscaping.
Hold on one second. Can we also, along with the December 15th, make sure that people have the stuff off their lanais? In other words,
No,
construction
no,
related
we can't
stuff.
do anything about that. I mean, you know, I'm hoping people will get the stuff in their lanai out by the curb. But, you know, if there's stuff they're going to save, you know, they just don't have any place to put it.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, there's a lot of lanais full of stuff, but
Those are the things that
It's in their unit.
it's keeping them.
yeah, I mean, it's stuff they're keeping, and
They could
you
move it
know,
inside too. They
What's
could
that?
move it- They could move it inside their unit.
Well, they can't move it inside because there's construction going on.
Well, you know, there's ways of doing it. It's just, it's
There's
a
no
bone.
storage. You can't even find storage today.
What was that, Chuck? I didn't get that last comment.
I say it's just a bone of contention. It looks like hell. We all know that.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
You know,
Yeah, Naples looks like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Going
it's very,
down the boulevard now, there's various signs saying no more dumping, we don't care. And the good projects are already sodding. So it is getting cleaned up, and within a
Yeah.
month, the majority of the boulevards will be done
in a couple months.
within a month. They're already, a third of them already have new sod out there.
Yeah, yeah, we will too. Yeah, I mean, it's no sense replacing slide if people are going to put refrigerators out there. But, after the 15th, we'll be contacting Green Heron and saying, hey, we need that curbside cleaned up. We need new sod, and then as far as the landscaping goes, Green Heron has been at her every week, and as part of their weekly duties, they have been cleaning out all the dead shrubbery, and they've been very methodical about it. So one week they do the north side, all the, certain plant matter. And then the next week they do the south side. And then we're waiting for things to recover. And some of the things that look pretty dead, do have green on them now, so we could save them. But that's what they're waiting for, to see what comes back and what doesn't. The good news about Green Heron is they're doing all this as part of their weekly service. So they're not charging us anything extra. I could see them coming in and saying, hey, look, hurricane cleanup's going to cost you 10 grand. And they haven't done that. So, it's a process. It looks ugly, but that's what happens when you get, 5 feet of water in your courtyard, in your parking lot. So, people have stuff on their lanai, but they have screens in, and if you're sitting outside, you really don't see it. So out of courtesy to the first floor, we have to let them do that. Okay, so going back to grounds and landscaping, Gene Ralph has really taken it upon himself to kind of police the things, Chuck, you're talking about. So he's up outside at 7 a.m. with Delta John. What time, Gene? Tell me. What time? Okay, so Gene's out there earlier than 7, which is good because that means Delta's out there earlier than 7.
Yeah.
And, he's fine tuning all the cleanup, so even on our property lines where we have debris in the bushes, Gene's clearing that up. Where the big claw comes and picks stuff up and breaks shower doors and there's glass all over the sidewalk, Gene's out there, with a broom. So, we're doing everything we can to police the area and polish the area up. So, grounds, the landscaping's, getting taken care of the best we can. Gene's out there policing the area. We have the 15th deadline, to get stuff off the curb, and then we'll look at, getting new sod in and stuff like that. For every building that's got fresh sod, there's 3 buildings that don't have elevators and air conditioning and not letting people in, and structural damage and, other issues, and pools that have to be completely rebuilt. So, if we're a month away from getting the pools up and running, we're in pretty good shape.
If I may,
Yeah, Gene.
for those that are not on property, if you're out for a walk up and down Gulf Shore Boulevard, you still cannot just walk down the sidewalk. There are units or complexes, they have stuff actually going onto the sidewalk, which the city has asked us not to have. So we're not in a great situation down here yet by any means. And it's not gonna clean up by the 15th of the month either. As far as this boulevard lawn service, I'm aware of the same units that have new sod in that, but that's a small percentage of what's going on up and down Gulf Shore Boulevard. I mean, it's still a disaster from a landscaping situation.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
It is not, you're on the sidewalk, you're in the street, back and forth if you're on a walk.
yeah. So the bottom line is, prioritizing everything. So I think our priority should be getting the pool up and running, getting chairs around the pool, being able to have some social functions, as opposed to, I'll be honest with you, worrying about lanais. And I appreciate comments, I don't want to go back negative, and I really want to encourage people to comment, but I want you to understand our priorities, and that is making it safe, getting the floors up and the first floors up and running, getting the pool open, getting power to the docks. Not that I would get my boat out in the bay right now, because you could still take a walk on Gulf Shore Boulevard and see a car floating, so caution to boaters. But yeah, and that's the truth. I'm not exaggerating. I have pictures of a car last week up at Venetian Village, just covered in green mold and, floating at the surface level. So, Gene's points to go on. I wouldn't get my bike out there. Some people have. Walks are difficult.
Listen, this is Harbour Cove's meeting.
Yeah, I'm missing that comment.
Got me the most concerned. But I don't know, maybe it was just dirty in there. I just compressed air, blew it up there so you could that occasionally.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's trying to talk to us or they're talking in the background, but
Should be.
That be something where I can do what I do now.
Yes, let it mute.
Play with it for a little bit. If it starts to happen again, and doing the same thing, what we may have to think about doing, and it's easy, we have our smart for it. But one of us, either one of us or both of us will come over. We'll take the carriage off the rail.
who is that speaking right now?
Some of the lens.
Got a bad.
Is that you, Bill? No. Okay. All right. We're going to move on here. So the next issue that I know everybody's very interested in is insurance. As you know, we have the maximum insurance coverage. We have a public adjuster. I spoke to him Tuesday, and there's still not a lot of progress. Their adjuster, our adjuster, met the week after the storm. All of the insurance companies are just slammed, overwhelmed. Nobody's gotten paid that I've heard of, and of course, I have my connections with GSAC, that's 77 units. The insurance companies, believe it or not, are extremely slow to pay. They are finding every excuse not to pay. There's a load of buildings on the Gulf side that not going to have coverage for their elevators because of this whole pre-firm, post-firm issue, where certain buildings built after a certain year do not have insurance coverage for anything below 17 feet. So there's buildings across the street that have millions of dollars worth of damage, that just don't have coverage for it. And I've heard from more than one building to have $100,000 assessments. They're talking about $10,000 quarterly condo fees. So that's the situation. We're very fortunate that we do have the flood insurance, which is covering our needs, but there's a lot of things that are not covered. For example, the pool is not covered. Exterior items are not covered. Basically, it's the inside of the buildings that gets covered. So I know our public adjuster is working hard. I keep reminding him of things that make sure that are covered. For example, the Chickie, the office. I didn't really talk about the office, but we're remodeling that. We put new floors in already. We'll get that painted, baseboards. That stuff will be going in this week, hopefully. So that's another thing we've gotten accomplished. But as far as the insurance goes, we have our deductibles. We asked for an advance payment. We still haven't gotten that. And, there's a lot of horror stories. The other thing, aside from the condos not getting coverage, is this 50-50 rule. And I don't know if people are aware of that, but basically they look at the appraised value of your building and, residential houses, buildings like ours. And if the cost to remodel is more than the 50% of the appraised value of the building, not including the land, they're making you become compliant with all the new regulations, FEMA requirements. So for example, if you have a house and it's going to cost more than half, and a lot of these houses, are $8 million houses, but 6 million of it is the land. So if that left you a balance of $2 million, if it costs more than $1 million, you basically have to take your house down and elevate it and then bring everything up to code. So I know there's a couple condos on our strip where they have side buildings, they'll call them quads, so it'll just be 4 units. And I know some of them are coming up against the 50-50 rule. So that's another horror story that luckily will not impact us, but it may impact people we know, that are living in buildings like that here on Gulf Shore Boulevard. So the good news for us is we do have flood insurance. It's going to cover the bulk of our damage, but we're going to be on the hook for things like fixing our electrical, fixing our plumbing, the slab work we did the other day to assure us that the building is structurally sound, things like that. Now, the other thing is, and I guess I could talk about this in the finance section, about the money we've laid out so far, but that kind of brings us up to speed on the hurricane status. I'd like to unmute everybody. Does anybody have any comments right now about everything we've said so far?
Can you hear me, Daryl?
Yes. Who is it?
Do you have an idea of what the bills are versus what we're going to owe versus what the insurance is paying for?
No. Who is this, by the way?
Kevin.
Oh, hey, Kevin, how you doing? No, because we have no idea what we're going to get for the insurance, until that insurance comes through. So, I also have personal flood insurance for my unit, for my personal possessions, furniture and clothes and everything else I got. So, and I still don't have money for that, and I had to hound the heck out of them, just to give me an estimate, which is actually going to be below my maximum coverage, which isn't a lot. But, it's enough to kind of help out a little bit. So it's the first indication I've gotten of what we're going to get. We did really well with the cars, I believe. I think everybody was pretty happy with what the insurance companies, provided us for the cars. But, with the flood insurance, I just can't get a handle on, what are we actually going to get? Now, the only thing I could say is, we get a second, third, and fourth bite at the apple. So if we don't like what they're giving us, we'll go through our public adjuster, give him the documentation and have him fight back for us. Our public adjuster has been great as far as doing all the interaction with the insurance companies and educating us, the board, on how to proceed. I've gotten a lot of, requests to sign contracts, and I'm not going to sign a contract until my public adjuster can tell me, hey, we're going to be covered for this. So for the biggest expense we've had so far to remediation, which was about $600,000, I was really reluctant to put my signature on that contract without some confidence we're going to get paid for that. And I'm told we are. And then same thing with the asbestos remediation, that's about $150,000. So that's the two big bogeys we have out there. And I was assured by, the public adjuster that the insurance company said they'd pay for that. So, if we're getting covered for the real big buck things, we'll have to, figure out what we're doing for the smaller dollar things.
Maybe a better question is, if you're at 750 with those two big items, if the insurance paid nothing, where would we be? What's our exposure if the insurance paid nothing?
We'd be up a creek. Yeah. Yeah, we'd be looking at assessments like we have across the street, which we're not going to be. They're definitely going to pay for the first floor units, for the office, for the chickie. They're going to pay, it's just a matter of their requirement is to put us back in the condition we were in before the storm. So, in the chickie, they're going to say, hey, look, this thing wasn't remodeled for 15 years. So you're not going to get, high-end marble and, tall boy toilets, whatever it is. But it's certainly going to look a heck of a lot better. And they're going to cover the bulk of it, so I don't, we're not going to be in a situation,
That's you.
everything I know, of assessments of $100,000. And I don't even think it's going to be in tens of thousands of dollars. I think it might be something under that, and the good news is we haven't gotten our advance yet, but we've been able to handle all of the bills we've gotten so far, without really making a big dent, in our expenses. And again, I'll talk about that in the finance portion. So I think relatively speaking, we're in good shape. The building held up. We're covering our bills. We're not going out asking people for money. And I don't want to ask people for money if, we might get some. I'm not going to ask for more than we need. And I want to ask for the minimum, that we need from everybody. So that's kind of where we're at. Anything else on the hurricane recovery? We'll get to talk more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, explain to them that is the adjuster 10%,
Very often, and it's about a
the
year
cost of the adjuster?
you guys are using it.
Yeah, I mean, the adjuster's going to get a 10% cut, and that's something we're going to be responsible for. There's no doubt about it. And mainly what we're paying for is a service from the day of the storm to now to make sure we make good decisions and do everything properly. And, and then for him to go back and fight. And I don't know about any of you, but this is the first real flood they've had in Naples. We've had hurricanes before, but that was a matter of fighting over property and HO6 insurance. This is flood insurance. It's a different animal. It's the first time everybody's going through it. And, does everybody know the difference between an insurance company and their adjuster and then an independent adjuster and then a public adjuster? I mean, it's complicated. And, who the hell would we call, frankly? And, this public adjuster has helped navigate me through the process and to know who to call and where to go to.
My point is it's well worth it. It's a cost, but it's well worth it. So.
Yeah, and I appreciate that comment, Chuck. And, there's naysayers out there about public adjusters. And then those same people have come back to me now and said, hey, who's your public adjuster?
We got 10.
And so now they're going, okay, I'm going to have to mute
Can I ask
everybody.
everybody to mute themselves
Yeah.
unless they've got a question? Because I can't.
Yeah. Okay. So I just muted everybody politely. Yeah. So anyway, going back to the public adjuster, this other communities have come up to me now and said, hey, who's your public adjuster? So they're 8 weeks behind us. So that's kind of the situation. Going from there, let's go to the committee reports and, finance committee. Gene, do you want to?
Well, you've kind of hit most of the, we're doing fine. Like Daryl said, we're paying our bills. We have money. Actually, we're pretty much on budget, less the disaster here and that. But, and as everyone knows, I'm sure that we adopted a new budget for 23 and the new number is 2875 per quarter. And as Daryl said, from an assessment standpoint, there is no number out there that we feel is, until we get the insurance money, we don't know where we stand. But from a budget standpoint, paying our bills, we're not going in the red especially, we're not. And we're doing fine through 11 months, I guess. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, if I could just give some, give everybody a little more clarity on what we've spent so far as the hurricane. So like Gene said, if this hurricane didn't happen, we would be running $20,000 under budget for the year. So that's really good news, that we've been underrunning, especially considering, what went on with the insurance last year. Now, okay, that was big if everything was perfect, that would be great. With the hurricane, right now, if you just look at our numbers with that insurance, we're $31,000 over. So that's a $54,000 difference that we spent on the hurricane. So if I could give you an idea of what the $54,000 went for, we spent basically $700 to get the fire alarm system up and running. Fire alarms are another big issue where people who lost their fire alarms, they're making them replace them with the latest code stuff. Big money, something we're not getting involved with. We lost the air conditioner for the office. That was $5,000. The elevator repairs to get that up and running, to drain the water, drain the mud. We had to sand the pistons because they got pitted. That was about $6,000. Trying to think what else. Oh, okay. The asbestos remediation, they wouldn't do that work without a deposit, $31,000. Now, that $31,000, I expect to get back on the insurance. So that would that alone would get us back on budget. So that would, that would be good. We spent $10,000 to drain the pool and acid wash it. So, after a storm, the pool water was black and the sides got stained, and that looks beautiful. If you look at it today, we're pouring the bleach in there and it looks good. I had $75 phone call with our attorney, Steve Falk. That was probably about 2.5 minutes. And, I laid out $2,500 for the electrical panels and everything. So don't tell Lauren, I put that on our credit card. So anyway, that gets you to 54,000, but we do expect to get reimbursed for the good bulk of that. So we had a good year, as Gene said, as far as our budget goes. And then, of course, all the other work going on is pretty much being absorbed by our normal contractors. So Delta has not charged us anything extra for janitorial. They're here 6 days a week under Gene's watchful eye. And trying to think what else. The landscaping's being taken care of under our normal stuff. So anyway, that's taken care of.
The service master guys that came in to begin with, is that all insurance related?
Yeah, so Service Master, that's the $600,000, that should be covered. I don't expect to have to pay anything for that. So yeah, that's the big dollar guy.
That actually is like really good. I thought you were going to be into hundreds of thousands. Like 54,000 is pretty good.
Yeah. So far, so good is what I could say. I think having the good contractors we have, working with us, and of course, by doing it in stages, which we're asking for your patience, we could have Green Herring come in and rip out all the dead stuff, and charge us $20,000, or we could say, let's just go through it week by week and see what recovers and what doesn't. The one other big bogey out there, of course, is insurance. And, we had a big bump in insurance last year. We expect a big bump this year. For all of you who have access to the Naples Daily News, there's an article in the paper today that I'd encourage everybody to read. The state of Florida legislature is having another special session starting Monday to address the horrors of insurance in Florida. We have the highest insurance rates. They continue to climb. Companies continue to leave. I'm dreading my meeting with Doug Shipp, when he tells us about insurance for next year. But this isn't a Harbour Cove issue. This is I live in Florida, nice weather issue, and it's going to drive people out of the state. There's no doubt about it. We are all of relatively decent means and can afford this, but there's a lot of people that can't. And there's a lot of people on fixed incomes, in houses, that just aren't going to be able to afford insurance. And then the other thing, of course, I'm finding out is when you need insurance, it's not worth a damn. Unfortunately, the flood insurance backed by the government, the National Flood Insurance Program, is turning out to be a godsend. But property insurance, for example, for our buildings, we have like a $280,000 deductible on each of our 3 buildings, and we'll never hit it. The good news is we'll never hit it, but the bad news is if we were to have $200,000 damage, that's on us. So it's really frustrating how little they cover and how many excuses they come up with not to pay for things like the elevator issue we talked about last month. They just won't cover it. It's not even a matter of not hitting our deductible, but it's like, well, your building wasn't damaged, so just because water got in your vent, that's not covered. These are the kind of answers you get from these guys. It's just unbelievable. So we'll be on the hook for that. But there's a couple different options we have, and we're going to pick the least expensive, proper route to kind of keep the costs down on getting those elevator cabs covered. But yeah, check out the Naples Daily News, and in the article, and I know people don't like me getting political, but they said basically the fix they came up with last spring had no impact on anything. And they said, even if they come up with something this time around, you're not going to see any kind of decrease in insurance in the near term. So, yeah, that's not good. And it's just something we have to live with. And there's nothing a board of directors can do about it, other than, work with a good insurance agent and do the best we can.
Can I?
Please.
Gene was mentioning, our new HOA fees for.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that even though it went up, when that's hard to take, I want to mention that I spoke with someone who their HOAs are going up 120%. And on top of that, they're having special assessments because of the hurricane damage and all that.
Yeah.
So I think we're actually pretty fortunate to keep it at a lower rate.
Yeah. So I don't know if you were able to hear Ann, but basically, she's close friends with somebody that lives in another building, and their condo fees went up 120%, and they got hit with a pretty
large special.
Yeah, and when we say large special assessment, we're talking 100,000. So yeah, I think if I got hit with $100,000 assessment, I'd be back in New Jersey. Honestly, it's ridiculous. But that's and it's not just one. There's a lot like that.
Yeah.
So
Daryl, on the
yeah
insurance, is there any possibility of combining with other properties on Gulf Shore to bid together?
No, and I think the other ones could bring us down, to tell you the truth.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real advantage to that. Like I said, we had a new elevation model done, or we're structurally sound. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention was the roof. We did a visual inspection of the roof, and we did not see any issues with it. Angie reached out to Advanced Roofing, didn't hear back from them for weeks and weeks, went back to them again the other day, and they said, we can't get out there till after the 1st of January, which is very typical.
They said they'll be here January 27th.
Oh, okay. So when they say after January 1st, they're telling us January 27th. And then they kind of said to us, well, we already did your maintenance on your roof this year. Is it because of the storm? And we're like, yeah, duh. We need you to look at the roof after the storm. So they're coming out January 27th. They reminded us that it'll be a $295 fee. And I think it's money well spent to make sure that the roof is okay. So we'll have that done. We reached out to Hutch Electric a couple of weeks ago, and they said, yeah, sure, we'll come out after the 1st. So we're running into a lot of that. And then I can tell you, people are going to disappear around Christmas. So over Thanksgiving, like contractors disappeared for 4 days. They're going to disappear for a week or two around Christmas, and they're burnout. If you see all these guys and what they're going through. So that's not going to help accelerate some of the things we want to get done. But, we have guys lined up, and we'll get them rolling. Gene, anything else on,
No.
No,
I don't
okay.
believe so.
the only other thing, next thing is building. We've kind of covered, again, structurally sound. Angie and I walked the engineer around yesterday. We're also showing them like little cracks. We saw, there were a couple spots. There's one up by the DePasco's unit. There's one outside of the elevator on the second floor where the paint came off. And we had him take a look at that and he goes, hey, look, this is just, surface stuff. Don't worry about it. If you guys are getting the painting done in a year, it could all be taken care of then. So you might see some slight imperfections or whatever, but there's nothing structural there. And, again, we talked about painting the building in 2024. So I think in 2023, we'll get an ad hoc committee together to talk about, getting the painting done, paint color. I know everybody will be in full agreement on the color we pick. But, we'll get a team together to kind of work on that.
Selection, lighting fixtures.
Yeah, lighting fixtures is another thing we want to do. So, we'll need, the community to kind of help us with that. They replace lighting fixtures, painting. And then, of course, the most important thing when you do the painting is making sure the structural is fine. So looking at rebar and stuff like that, we'll fix all that, the walkways, everything will look good. Docks, the good news is we got power to the docks. Chip, anything you want to add?
Did they confirm that we have power to the breaker boxes?
Yes.
From finger piers 2 and 9?
So everything is,
So,
I have.
so except for those people who have lifts whose motors and controls were underwater,
Right.
we should have juice
Yeah.
to operate the
Right.
lifts.
Yes.
And then how about we have at least two duplex outlets, convenience outlets, 120 volts on each finger pier.
So to my
and
understanding, he replaced everything on all the docks.
all the-
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yesterday.
And then we had
And
11
the lights.
lighting fixtures, one of which we needed to replace because it had been
And
damaged.
those will have to come later on, but so far he put the lights and stuff up.
So on the lighting fixtures, there's actually two. Jeannie and I took a walk and there's two that are broken and we need one new post. So I have the order that we did last time. So I'll drive up to LBU and I'll order that and I would think we could get that right away.
And is this electrician able to
Of course, I'm sure.
fix
he
those,
would.
fix those?
Yeah. We
Once we get the
him to do it.
pieces and
Yeah.
parts?
Owners would live is responsible to, getting their power
So,
on.
should I then address a letter or an email to all of the lift lessees indicating that there is power to
Right.
their slip? So they should do whatever they
Yeah.
need to do to contract for the restoration of their lift motors and controls.
Right. As far as we're concerned, everything should be working. If we go out there and something's not working on a particular pier, we'll get the guy back out, but now's the time to test.
Okay,
everything.
so I will put together a letter to the lift lessees.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So that was kind of a big breakthrough that we were able to get that. And this particular electrician we're using seems to be available. Whenever we need something, he likes working here. He did ask for coffee and donuts yesterday. We might have to sweeten the pot, but he seems to be available. So if you do come across something on a particular pier, we'll get that fixed.
Is that Hutch?
No, Hutch won't be available. This is Southwest.
Southwest.
Yeah, Hutch is another after the New Year's kind of guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they are like 6 or 12.
Oh. Okay, so that's docks, grounds landscaping. We talked about, the main thing is the cleanup. We have green heron. Once we know the curb is straight, we'll get the curb cleaned up. For people that haven't been here, it looks like trucks have driven through it. There's all kinds of ruts, and then there's debris. Couple shower doors just shattered. There's glass, and Delta did a really good job at cleaning that up, but it's still, I was out there yesterday and it was still broken glass shards, this big all over the place.
Good. The beach looks good, but
Yeah.
underneath, you don't know what you're gonna find.
Yeah, Angie was making a comment also about the beach. It looks nice, but I would definitely wear shoes, because there's stuff buried on the beach and do not go in the water. It is like, it's bacteria filled and, you might see couple people out there, but, I don't want to go in the hospital. So landscaping, we will rebuild gradually like we've done over the last couple of years. I don't think it's really necessary to go out and spend $200,000 at a shot. We'll kind of rebuild. I think we want to get around the front sign. I would think would be a priority to get our street facing look, back to where we got it. And, we'll work with Ann and Jean and, try and get that going. Sunshine, I know Mary Claire has been keeping on top of that. She sent us a record of everything going on there. She's under budget. Social is unfortunately shut down until we can get some space to operate. And let me open it up for questions again. Or does anybody on the board have anything to add right now? Now we kind of good. Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions or concerns?
Yeah, hey, this is Lauren.
Hey, Lauren.
Just one note. And this is both as a resident and then as your wife who heard about what got put on the credit card.
Oh.
I would just, I know that there's a lot of stuff going on. I know, people have got lots of issues and questions and we're all, some of us just trying to work through a lot of junk. But I would just ask on sort of behalf of Daryl, because he won't do it for himself. If folks could keep sort of phone calls to him, like before 6 o'clock at night and, avoid Sundays if at all possible. I think that you were a very capable and competent guy, and I am really grateful for you and your leadership and stewardship on behalf of the community during this difficult time. But we also have to look out for you. I have to look out for you. And I've got to ask for a little bit of downtime on his part, on his behalf. So thank you to everybody who is so kind and gracious and generous and helping and volunteering and, and saying nice things to him and providing encouragement. I thank you as the person who, sees him when he's awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, worrying about stuff. But I just have to ask for a little bit of a break on his behalf. So, okay, now I'm done. Ha ha.
Okay.
Ha ha, you can't get me.
Okay, so you can see Lauren is my biggest fan and I appreciate that, of course. And, I really want to be responsive to everybody, so I can't help myself, but I will draw the line during Eagles games. So, I will say that. So anyway, any other comments? Anybody? I mean, I hope you realize, yeah, go on.
It's Mark. Hey, Daryl. I am not there. We're not there. And I can only kind of see it and hear it through your eyes and pictures. And we're on moorings, MPOA calls and hearing what's going on. But I just can't imagine what you're dealing with. And then you've got your own unit you're dealing with. And you're dealing with everybody else's. It's just amazing, and we can't thank you enough for what you're doing. And I would support any little things we have to deal with in between. To everybody, just suck it up and let's deal with it. It's not that big of a deal. And I just can't imagine. We've got friends next door at Bordeaux. It's a mess over there. The board, the infighting. We were at a party this past weekend with those folks, and they're just doing their own remodeling, and they're on a first floor over there, and they basically said, "To hell with it, we're doing it ourselves because we can't deal with the board, with the with what's going on there, and just the end of one, but we're right next door. So I don't think things would be anywhere. I know they wouldn't be, where they are now without you and your leadership and what you're doing. So you have my full support to say, no, you can't do this and you can't do that, whatever it takes to keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments, Mark, and everybody, I know everybody, agrees. And, we're doing it as a board here, so, we're all on the same page. I couldn't do it without the other members of the board, and of course, I'll mention my right-hand man in the matching shirt, who was there, and providing,
That was just a coinkydinky.
yeah, no, one requirement I have is we match. So anyway, we're getting through it, and I hope people know, again, I'll go back to the I got a guy thing, and the I got a guy thing doesn't work. So we're doing it right. We have reputable contractors. When we're all done, the place is going to be better than it was before. We're going to minimize the cost of everything and, do our best to do it smart. And, Mark's comment about the Bordeaux Club, we've had other contractors tell us there's been practically fistfights in parking lots between owners. So this gets real ugly, real fast. And, we as a board are grateful that all the residents, have been very supportive, and have, kind of concurred with the approach we're taking. And, it makes life that much better. So we appreciate everything you guys are doing and all the support we're getting from all of you. So I'll say that. The other item coming up is we do have an annual members meeting in January. Typically, we have it at St. John's Church, but like everybody else, they got flooded. Their corner was just filled with, debris and bags and stuff, and their facility isn't available in January. So we were fortunate enough to get the Courtyard Marriott on Tamiami Trail right next to Blueberries. So if you're not quite familiar with where that is, they have a nice room. They can hold at least 50 people. So we will have our annual meeting there on January 26th at 10 a.m. A letter did go out from Century announcing the meeting the other day. They also solicited people that might want to run for the board. It's really a fun experience. So we encourage interested people, to submit their names if they'd like to do that. So that's out there. And other than that, last call for questions or comments or.
Very clear. I just want
Hi,
to say
Mary
it
Claire.
was so neat to look out my front windows and see the lights on down at the docks. It was just breathtaking. I miss them a lot.
It's really funny, with everything we're doing, that I looked out the window and saw the lights on the docks too. And I was like, it just made you feel good. It really did look good. So sometimes the simple things like the bubblers or the lights or the holiday lights, it's like, finally something positive, So yeah, I agree with you, Mary. I don't know why it hit me that way, like it hit you, but it did look good. So that said, anything else from the board?
We got 2 seats coming available.
Yes, yeah, 2 seats, not all 5, just 2. You can't get rid of all of us, but yeah, 2 seats on the board. Anybody else? Nicole?
No.
Angie?
I want to say thank you to everyone for the kind words. And I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to shortchange Angie, but if Gene is my right-hand man, Angie's my other right-hand person. And Angie and I spend hours together every day, and Angie doesn't hesitate to respond to my calls after hours. And I know her husband has already said to her, are you getting paid for this? So Angie's gone above and beyond after hours. If I have an emergency or something, I know I can always count on her. And Angie's been very proactive in taking care of things. It's not like we have to sit here and tell her what to do. She's taken the lead for so many things for us. So I have 2 great, super 24-hour partners. I appreciate it. That said, I will, Gene, did you answer?
No, you can tell we're working out of her upstairs office today,
Yeah,
because she has no office
Yeah,
downstairs.
Yeah, so downstairs they're finishing off the flooring. They're gonna do baseboards and we'll get it painted up and the office will look real nice, so that'll be another improvement here at Harbor Cove. So it's gonna be good when we're done. We just have to get there.
Patience.
Yeah, so that's it. I move to adjourn the meeting. Second, all in favor? Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Looking forward to seeing you under better conditions. Thank you, bye.
Bye.
That chip, that light fixture is $109. The post is in